Welcome to Ngozi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within. Find your voice. Welcome to Ngozi Talk Show. Over to you, Tamia. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Lead from within. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Tamia Dow, and I am an ordained minister, a speaker, coach, and filmmaker. And I'm coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, in the USA. It is bright and early at 5 a.m. And I am looking forward to our topic for today.
Thank you so much, Tamia. So our topic today is the greatest gift you can give to your loved ones. Prepare final arrangements, instructions, which is scaring me. Over to you, Tamia. Why did you choose this topic, by the way? I'm curious.
Thank you, Nomsa. It's very excellent to be here. I'm super excited to talk about this, and it's very strange for me that I'm super excited to talk about this. But I tell you, it's the best gift that someone can leave their loved ones, and that is their final instruction. I know it sounds morbid, but let me just let you guys know, none of us are getting out of here alive. Regardless of what your faith system is, there is a passing away of all of us that will occur at some point in our life, because we are to die. Let me say that. We are all born to one day die. So what happens is, so many of us believe that we won't die, especially if we're a younger person or a medium-aged person. We think, I'm only 30, I'm only 40, I'm only 50. I have many more years to go. But what we don't realize is that none of us are promised even the rest of the day, let alone tomorrow. So we could be gone just that quick, in a blink of an eye. And so with that said, and especially with us having come through the season of pandemic that we just came through, many people lost their lives that had no idea that within 7 days they would no longer be here on earth. I said the greatest gift you could give someone is the gift of your final instructions. And here's why. Sadly, as a chaplain, as a minister, I've had to do funeral services as well as birth christenings and weddings. So we hear the two exciting things, and we don't think that eventually we will all end. We also sit and have relatives that are over 70, and sometimes we still don't think, oh, my mom will be here, my grams will be here, will be here forever. End of life issues are very important. So this, NOMSA, is why I wanted us to discuss this on the show, to prepare people, to prepare their families for their passing. Now, what's so sad is I have watched many times, and I don't know, depending on where you're from, watch families fundraise for the passing and the funeral, funeral, celebration of life, homegoing, whatever you call that final goodbye that friends and family have for loved ones, I have seen them raising money, doing car washes, going door to door, doing GoFundMe's because someone has passed away. We should always prepare. From the moment we give birth and introduce a new person into our family, we have to prepare because we never know. And to be having to do GoFundMe's, and having to worry about how to put together the final instructions, think about this. Think if today, right now, while we're watching this show, you get a phone call or a text that says, call immediately. And you pick up the phone and they say, someone you love dearly has passed away. Is that the time for you, when you hear this news, whether it be your child, your husband or wife, your partner, sibling has passed away unexpectedly? Like I said, death should not be unexpected to any of us. It's just the timing might throw us off, but all of us will pass away. And you now have to, and being told that it's up to you to take care of this person's final arrangements. Are you in the situation or in the position at that time to best do all that you need to do a honorable homegoing celebration for the person, whomever it was that you lost? Because I gave you an example of many there. You are usually in shock and grief. So is that the time for you to try to remember what school did they go to? What branch of service were they in? Was she a nurse? Was she a teacher? Because I'll give you an example of your parents. We know our parents from when we met them as children, and sometimes we know their backstory, but a lot of times we don't, or we don't remember. Maybe mom said that, she was a nurse in the war, or that she be striped when she was a kid, or that she always really wanted to be a musician and played the piano from 15, but just hadn't played it since she had children. You know what I'm saying? These are tidbits and things that will escape your mind when you're in grief. So this is why I say the greatest gift you can leave for your family members is your final instructions played out. Here's another example. Well, mama would have wanted me to have this. Daddy said I was supposed to have this. Why is she getting to do everything and I'm not doing everything? I should be the one that the sibling. I should be the one that does, because I'm the favorite sibling. And now you have families fighting. And unfortunately, when someone passes away, oftentimes and sadly, that is what happens. Families will fight, and people will come out the woodwork, cousins and relatives, and uncle such and such said that he was going to give me this and I'm supposed to have that, and he never liked you anyways, and you weren't here, so why do you get this and this and this? You guys know when I'm saying this stuff that this does happen in families, sadly and unfortunately. So I am saying this is all avoidable. If you leave your final instructions, this is all avoidable. Depending on where you live at, what country, because I know I speak to many people from all over the world. I'm speaking about things such as US and Canada and the UK are probably very similar. You prepare a written statement, and what they call the written statement here in the US is a will. Now, a will is a basic instruction as to where everything that belongs to you should go. So, for example, I would like my fur coat to be left to my niece. I would like my video collection to be left to my nephew with this name. And because remember, nieces and nephews and siblings, there must be by name, right? So my cousin Lucretia gets my this collection. She always admired this. And also in the will, after you're specifying, this person gets my car, which is paid off and they always admired. This person inherits my house, which is paid off and they've always admired. This person gets, you see what I'm saying? This person, and you spelled it out. And you want to write this will while you're still well, while you're of sound mind. So someone doesn't come and say, oh, it was her deathbed and she was on medication and he didn't know what he was saying and that's not what he meant, or someone else had influence over him, which happens oftentimes even still with will, that people will contest. They call it contest the will. And they will say, no, my dad would have left this to me. And it's just because he had a wife. That's why he did this or he did that. Still, in your will, you give those instructions. This is going to this person. This is going to that person. That is going to that person. And then you want to leave in the will 2 other portions. You want to make a reference to people in the will that you're giving stuff to, and say, like if I said, I want to leave to my good friend Nomsa, who was always so kind. Please ensure that she has, my designer dress. She always admired it, kind of thing. I really appreciated her. She was a good friend. So what is nice about that is that those not only your final instructions, but also your final words to that person. So you want to have kind words. Sometimes, unfortunately, people will put in their will and they'll say, and my son Darius, I leaves him nothing because, he left the family and this and whatever, right? That can be contested in court, yet because he was named by name, the person said, I don't want to give Darius anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's so important to leave those final instructions so that people know. But here's the other part of the final instructions, and I really got a kick out of you saying it, Nomsa, that it scared you a little bit, is that you have to, within the instructions, or I encourage you within the final instructions, to leave help people to tell your story. And what is cool about that is you say, when I was 9 years old and I lived in, I was in the streets of London. I always really enjoyed Camden. That was my favorite go. That was the area I grew up in. I went to such and such school and I did this. And, I was I don't know if you guys have Boy Scouts or Scouts there, but I was a scout. I was a volunteer. I went to Saint such and such's church. What is it? I enjoyed to fish. Stuff like this that your family may not know, or if they do know, it's not coming to their mind when they have to write your eulogy. So it ends up being a eulogy that said, remember how I gave you an example of the grandmother who you think was probably a nurse. I'm pretty sure she said she was a nurse, right? And so you put in there in the obituary, which you have the eulogy, which is what is given and told at the memorial service, funeral service. But then you also have the obituary, which is what we see. I don't know if in other countries they do it, but in the United States, on the Sunday, they put an obituary and it says, Bill Smith, this date to that date. So the birth date to the death date. So let's say 1914 to 2021, and it'll say his like, April 14th or whatever, right? And it'll say, Bill Smith was a carpenter. He lived in Greenwich Village. He leaves behind 15 great grandchildren, 12 grandchildren. What I'm saying, so it like lays down your chronology, and it'll say, and he'll be buried at St. James Cathedral, on Sunday at 2:00, right? So that's your obituary in there. And a lot of times, because your family doesn't know, that's all you get. They don't know your background. They don't know your story. You haven't written it out for them. So in the obituary, it will say that. But then other times you see these long obituaries, right? You go look at the people like a page and, like a column and a half telling their life story. Why? Because people were prepared and ready. And a lot of times those people might be, I don't want to say celebrities, but they may be, speakers or business people or something like that. Now they take the time to plan, to prepare, so their family does not have to worry. So why shouldn't you? And you might be listening to me and you may actually just be, there's no just to it, but you might not be a business professional or something like that who would have a long preparation. Just do it lovingly. Do it because you love your family and you do not want them in the most stressful part of their life, which is the death of you, to have to worry about, what do I say? How do I honor my loved? How do I put together a beautiful service for them so that they will appreciate it? Now remember, that service is actually for the living, because that person who has passed away has gone on. They've gone to the next realm, whatever it is that you believe. They are no longer physically here on earth. Yet we honor our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, whomever it is that we are tasked with having to lay to rest, to put them in their final resting place. That opens the door to a whole nother thing. If there's no written instructions, what happens to your earthly vessel? Once you're gone, you're gone. Your soul is no longer there. So what are your instructions for your loved ones to do with your earthly vessel? Our body is a temple, and within it is our spirit. And once our spirit is gone, it is just a frame. It is all done. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to see a dead body when someone has passed away or attended a funeral. You will look at that person laying inside the casket, and they're no longer there. All that is left is there, as the term is, there remains. What is left to be put to rest? So the reason I mention this is because, what did the person want you to do? Did they want you to cremate them? Which in some religions, oh no, you can't cremate the person. You mustn't do that. Some religions that believe that the person will be raised again intact. So you have to keep the body all together and, bury it all together. And that's why a lot of times families will stress out and say, you'll hear the expression, a Christian burial, which means that the body is intact, so that at some point in their belief system, they believe that the spirit will come back and the body will be renewed and whole. But that's a whole nother story. Like I said, according to your belief system. The other thing is, what if that person went on to believe something different than what you believe, right? Now here you come and you're tasked with burying someone who may be of a different faith. Even though you love them dearly, you don't know the procedure of the faith. And you don't know if that person actually wanted to adhere to that, or if they wanted to physically be buried, right? So cremation or burial. And what happens? Everybody argues over it. No, Mama told me that she wanted to be buried. Oh, no, said she wanted to be cremated and she wanted to stay at Effie's house. She wanted to be put in an urn and stay at Effie's house. And then the next thing, oh my goodness, you guys are so much about this. Nomsa, is why I wanted us to talk about this topic. There's so much to your final preparation. What type of a casket will your loved one be laid in? We don't know the circumstances of their death. Maybe it can be open, maybe it can be closed. Will you spend $13,000 on the Cadillac of caskets, or will you get a basic $300 casket because you're going to send the person to be cremated? So it really doesn't matter what type of a casket they're in. You know, do you want to have, or does that person want to have? Because remember, I'm saying, does that person who is now gone want to have a open affair? Do they want a ceremony where friends and family could come? You know, and how do you know all their friends? This is what I'm telling you about preparation. How do you know all their friends as the loved one who's left to bury that person? If the instructions are there, you have here's my college friends, call my college friends. Here's my military friends, call my military friends. Here's my coworkers, call my coworkers. Or here's my boss, here's a point of contact, call this person and let them know, so that they can contact the people that need to know to come to the memorial service. If not, what happens? People find out on Facebook. People find out by reading the obituary. People find out by finding out after, oh yeah, Billy passed away 2 months ago. I thought you knew that. Do you see what happens? And it's because there were no final instructions. There was no call my, get a hold of, that kind of thing. Because go back to that scenario of the businessman with the column and a half explanation. Well, that businessman probably at some point had a secretary or an assistant or an admin that was able to keep all of these things straight for him or her. Each one of us can do that for our loved ones. Each one of us can prepare our final instructions, our love letter to our family, and make it so that we don't have people arguing and fighting. There are some people that after the passing of their parents, mother or father, siblings that never talk to each other again. Over. Mama would have wanted me to have the piano. Why did you give the piano to your child when I'm her child? So you have aunties and uncles fighting, saying that the child, you know, so that's the next generation or the next generation shouldn't have had these gifts because there was no instructions. You see what I'm saying? So you can cause a lot within your family because there's no final instructions. And pallbearers. I mean, I'm telling you guys, we're going down, but see, as a minister who officiates these ceremonies, I watch all of this. I have to counsel people. Oh no, Mama would have wanted it, and I'm sitting down counseling these people who are fighting over material things because, basically, because there is that person is no longer here to say, yeah, you can't have that because they didn't leave the final instruction. So let me see. I covered quite a bit of things there. Did you have any questions, Nomsa, about that?
I need to find out, because what happens if someone contests the will? I've never been in that situation because when my daddy died, basically, I think we knew where we stand. There were instructions about everything, and also, when I was very close to my parents, and I was in the UK anyway. So my dad, when he died, just before he died, he said our goodbyes, letting me know that he's basically going and there is no other way. The doctors cannot help him. And but then the funeral, everything, it was, they arranged everything was done. We didn't have any arguments or who guess what. And my dad is home. The home, when he left, he didn't leave a will, but we know that is our home. To us, that home is our home. I don't think we can claim it because we have one brother, so we can't claim it. All my sisters are overseas, so we know where we stand, that we can't claim it is our home for us. My brother is the one who is in Africa, so we see it as a home where my father has left us a memory. But at the same time, when my dad died, my dad always said we didn't belong there. It's not his home. So me and my children, we started investigating where do we actually come from. So we realized that we actually have no connection. Our families, our ancestors moved to South Africa, but we are actually from Kenya originally, because I did a DNA test. So we are actually from Kenya and Nigeria. And we have our ancestors, we have white blood, which is in Europe as well. So so I was like shocked. I was like, so basically we lived there and we didn't belong there. So I started realizing that actually, because Nigeria and Kenya, those countries, I think our ancestors, white ancestors, might have moved there and the surname was switched to African surname. So it was like, for me, because my father left a diary, making everything very clear for me. So I decided, you know what? I might as well do some investigation. My family call me crazy anyway. So I decided to go step by step. Everything that he wrote, like what you're saying, that you have to leave your instructions. So there were wishes that he wanted to do as a father. He has never fulfilled those wishes. So I had to go and fulfill those wishes on his behalf. And then I had to find out where actually our nationality, who are we? So it came up as Nigeria, Kenya, Sierra Leone, and Europe. So there was no, although we have a South African surname, but there is no connection in South Africa. It's like we are Dutch, basically, but our ancestors are Dutch. So I'm still want to hire an investigator to find out what made them use an African surname. But then I wanted to do that, but then I'm watching, I started following one of the pastors in Nigeria. Actually, in Nigeria, there's a South African community in Nigeria, which is something that I didn't know anything about it. And I started watching them on TV, and they were like singing African language, which is my language. They were singing my language. So I was like, what the heck is going on? Because like, if my father didn't leave those instructions to say, this is where we are, but we don't belong here, I wouldn't have known my culture. I wouldn't have known anything about my life. I would have just said, thinking, I belong here. I belong here, because all I know is this is where we are. And when I started realizing, and I'm talking to my friend, she was like, Ethiopia, there's a South African villages, and Nigeria, South African villages. I was like, this is something that I'm actually 42 years old and I didn't know anything about it. So I was like, I need to embrace my culture and go and visit one day, because I didn't know that this is who I was and this is where I came from. So thank you so much for that, because that is very, very important to leave final, write a will and your wishes as well. That is the gift that my father left me, which is when he was doing it, I was like, I don't think this man knows what he's talking about. He's making up stories. But my father knew. Honestly, I just went, he's making up stories. But then I decided, you know what? I'm gonna fulfill his wishes and check where do we originally come from, our inheritage. So my inheritage, it came back. The top one is Kenya and Nigeria, and then Europe. So I have no connection with and then I was like looking at South Africa, Zimbabwe, there's no connection. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I have a journey that I need to begin with my children, basically to go and visit Kenya and Nigeria. I'm already in Europe, and these countries are I need to visit Germany, because my great grandmother, we thought she was Xhosa and she's mixed race, but she's not. She's Dutch. She basically comes up as her family are from Europe. So I need to visit, and France. So I was like, this is amazing. Because when I said to him, when I was like, I'm going to Europe, and he was like, you're going home, Noms. I was like, he's making up stories. How am I going home? So he was telling the truth. So sometimes our parents, or whatever is going on, like what you're saying, is very, very important, because we are all human beings, to leave instructions for our families, so they know who we are and they know what we want. But for me, I disagree with people that contest the will. I don't know, have you ever been in that situation where you witness people contesting the will?
I actually normally don't get in that portion of it. I deal with people more towards the front of it, meaning right after the passing, and the family's dealing with those emotions, because the will usually comes kind of after. And when I mean the will portion, I mean the part where dissemination of property starts to happen. So that usually happens after. I call the time from the death to the burial, I call it like the first 7 days, right? Because in most cultures, within the first 7 days, the body is laid to rest, but not always. Because when I was talking about those GoFundMes and stuff like that, a lot of times they have to raise money in order to be able to bury the person. So it could be I want to say the worst, the longest I know of was a month and a half that the person unfortunately was being kept at the funeral home for burial. And then if you think about what just happened with the COVID pandemic, and I want to say just happened because a lot of countries are actually still dealing with the loss of people from COVID. So then you end up being backlogged for months, because the funeral homes just, it's rolling over so quickly and so fast that it could literally be months before you're able to get your loved one's name on the calendar to have a period of time that you can have your memorial service. So this is just a time. This is just a time that's unheard of when it comes to this current situation that we're in, having a pandemic. And still yet, we need to make sure that we have left the instructions. So even if we end up sitting down, at the funeral home on ice, as they keep the bodies frozen, still our family would know what to do. Now, about the contesting of the will, that's why it's so important to get a solicitor or an attorney, involved with the will. Now, I just want to give you the caveat that I am not a solicitor or an attorney. I am a minister who deals with one of my tasks is to help families that are mourning and officiate their memorial service and funeral services for their loved ones. So I'm speaking to you with that hat on, and not as a person who can give you legal advice. Okay. Even still, it is less likely that if you are of sound mind and have written your will out and explained why you either included or left out somebody from your family, it's very difficult to contest it. People sue for any reason, though. So you could have somebody who's actually not even related to you try to come and say, oh, I should have a portion of this because, I helped Bill when he was his sickest and he told me he loved me dearly and he wanted me to have $50,000, but there's nothing in writing, right? Bill didn't mention it in his will. People knew that maybe you did spend some time with him, as his nurse or whatever. But in the bottom line is, anybody can try to contest the will and say they're part of it. And it's unfortunate for the family. It's disruptive. It can be costly because, who pays those expenses? You know what I'm saying? They say the loser pays the expenses, whoever loses the case. Yet in the meantime, someone's still got to pay the solicitor, the attorney that's assisting you with the battle, So in the end, unfortunately, the attorneys may come out with a
So
better
you mean
finance.
if someone takes the family to court, whoever loses, they paid for the case?
Generally, depending on where you live, generally you do.
Okay.
Somebody's got to pay the attorney, right? So if you're the one defending the will, so you're the surviving family member defending the will, well, the attorney, whether it's the attorney that filed the will or whether it's an attorney you hire to defend the will, it's still got to get paid. And for the most part, they want a retainer from the beginning because they're going to start working right away. And then the other person has their attorney, and now these people are in court for you. You're there too. So you have to pay them, so yes, it does. You do incur an expense, unfortunately, and you hope it doesn't wipe out the actual, it's depending on how long the fight goes, you know what I'm saying? So if it's less than a few $1 billion, you would think maybe the person wouldn't go after it. But if it's quite a few $1 million, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to take my chance, that I may actually win this portion, you know what I mean? So yes, so it would be like that. But I want to tell you something else. I love what you said about the research that you're doing about your family. Not everybody does that. But I also wanted to share a resource because, like I said, I'm a minister and I deal with people who are dealing with end of life issues. And ideally, I encourage people to have a conversation with their parents because mostly we're expecting our parents to go, right?
Yeah.
But also with yourself, right? Because when we do that we call it the celebration of life, we reflect upon the person's life. Well, I've prepared a manual here. It's called In Celebration of You. And it basically helps you rediscover who you are. But the other thing about it is it helps you in celebration of you. And you see my name there, Tamia Dow. You can go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and it's available in any country. It can be sent to any country. But it is a resource that allows you to interview. You literally, so my background before becoming a minister was I was a law enforcement officer. So I was a detective, a police detective, and I did a lot of interviews. I did a lot of talking to people about why they did the thing they did and what they did, et cetera, et cetera. So I do the same thing in here. I want you to see it's set up like a workbook. Let me try to get it close. If it'll let you see. It won't really let you see. But the thing is, it's set up like a workbook, and you're able to literally interview yourself, so you answer the series of questions and your loved ones. So if you have an older loved one, and it talks about, what was your favorite thing to do as a child? Where did you grow up? How did you spend your summers? Just stuff that would be really fun to sit down with somebody you loved and get to know them. It talks about military service.
Tamia, hold on. I think
Ma'am.
my daughter, her dad went to pick her up from school. She's not well. You keep talking. I'll be back.
Okay. Oh no. So Lord, we pray for Nomsa's daughter, Lord. Please settle her stomach or help her, Lord, whatever the situation may be. We lift her up to you and we ask that you just touch her and heal her in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Thank you, folks, for your indulgence on that. So I'll talk a little bit more about this here. You'll talk to the person about their character traits. What is it about them that they think stands out? I mean, all of this stuff is explained to you inside this In Celebration of You book. Now, in celebration of you, I put together, because so often we go about living our lives that we forget who we are. And part of your eulogy, which there is instructions in here on writing your eulogy, as part of your eulogy, you want to reflect on the blessings of your life and what the Lord has brought you through, or whomever you believe your higher power to be. I personally believe that we all have been given this gift called life. We don't know how long we will be here on this earth, because our life is just a vapor. Yet while we're here, we must do our best to give back. You see here, it's a picture of a gift. You want to present your life as the gift that it is. So our lives are a gift from God, or the higher power, whatever you believe. I believe God. And what we do with our life is our gift back to God, and also to serve mankind. So please, I encourage you, write this love letter to your family. Make it so that the most crucial day, the most upsetting day, the most unwanted day in your life, which is the passing of your loved one, would be a little smoother for those you loved. And that's why I say it's a love letter. You will be able to spell out in your love letter things such as this. Let's say you love Christmas. So you ask that your funeral service, your memorial service, be something that has Christmas trees. They might be white Christmas trees or silver Christmas trees. You pick the theme and the color. You tell your loved ones your final instructions. What would I like to see here? That maybe you say, here are the pictures that I would like to be on the video. Because everybody puts together a memorial video for their family. And what happens is, when the funeral home is putting them together, you just find those few pictures you have of them. Well, the best way to prepare them is to already have the pictures together, or maybe even make your own, for lack of a better word, they call it a sizzle reel. Make your own sizzle reel. Shows the highlights of your life. Did you go to Mount Kilimanjaro? Did you travel to Asia? Did you go to Australia as one of your favorite trips? What did you do? Let your loved ones enjoy your life through pictures that are already prepared, that they don't have to sit and go through. Here's the other thing I would encourage you to do, is this is a perfect time in all of our lives to declutter, to minimalize. And what does that mean? That means go through those boxes, go through those closets, and bless people while you're still alive. Donate the clothes to, local charities, children in need of clothing, places that maybe a Goodwill, depending on where you're from, places that you can donate clothing to. Get rid of the excess, because guess what? When you pass away, now your family members got to come through and get rid of that stuff, So just make it easier on yourself and them by minimalizing. Did you have some other questions?
How do you have that courage, Tamia? Because thinking about death is it's not an easy thing, but how do you actually have courage to actually? I'm a coach. If I think about death, and I'm also a Christian, so if I think about death, it's like I'm going to a better place, I'll be fine. But what if somebody else who's scared, who doesn't have courage to actually prepare herself or himself for the family to write the will? Some people don't like the thought of dying. So
Right.
what words would you actually encourage them to do?
Well, this is why I'm so excited that you were willing to do this segment. I was really excited about it. I know it was sad. I know that people don't want to face death, yet death is a reality. Death is the inevitable for all of us. We don't know how we're going to go. It could be, depending on where you're at, you could literally step into the street and a car hits you, by accident or what, because accidents happen, right? A lot of people lose their lives by accident. You could physically be in your own car and the car flips, or somebody hits you, or you just don't know. This is why I said that even by the end of this day, some people who are watching this video may not actually see the end of the day. You just don't know what can happen. So we can't plan what our last days will be. We don't know that. Sometimes maybe if you're not well and you're in the hospital or something like that, you kind of see your last days coming upon you. But not everybody is blessed with that opportunity. It could be just that quick, you're gone, and now you had nothing prepared. So I say to you, this is why I call it a love letter to your family. You will give your family peace of mind, and they will be able to look at, your life and celebrate it. And that's why I called this In Celebration of You, right? So if you have your own, if you've gone through and created something like this or answered the questions in there, and then let your family know, put this with wherever you put your papers, because everybody should have important papers, like where the mortgage is, where the title to the car is, that kind of stuff. This would be part of your important papers, the will, the final instructions for your family, so that they know, some people say, I don't want my funeral to be black. Don't come and wear black to my funeral. I want you to come to my funeral in color and ready to celebrate. And I want you to play this song and that song and that song. When we get married, we have a soundtrack, right? We get with the DJ and tell them we want this kind of music. The same kind of thing. When we celebrate our graduations or celebrate promotions or whatever, we put together a whole party for that, right? We have people invited. We pick our music out. We pick the food out, right? Same kind of thing. Just giving your family instructions that when you do my homegoing ceremony, please have this or that. And you may even want to, like my mom has done it with me, praise the Lord. I celebrated here in the U.S. We had Mother's Day on Sunday, and I celebrated Mother's Day with my mom. And every year I praise God and I thank God that she's still here with me, because she's a 3-time breast cancer survivor. 3 times that woman has duked it out with the big C, so I know that I am so blessed for her to still be here. But she has already told me what she wants in, she's done her will already. She's told me what she wants to be wearing in the casket. She's told me the picture that she wants displayed on her brochure, her homegoing announcement, right? Because many of us, like I know, because I collect them, not as a souvenir, but just because I've done those services or I've lost this person. But inside or on the cover of the pamphlet, there's usually a picture of the person, and hopefully it's either a current one or a most flattering one. And for my mom, when she was younger, she was a model. So it's a picture of her in her 30s, and she just looks, gorgeous. She looks really pretty. So that is the one that would be on her announcement, along with her birth date and then her passing date. So inside the brochure, when we do the eulogy and the obituary, it tells the story of, they call it the dash, the line in between. 1943 to 2030. I'm giving her a lot of years. 2030, actually more than that, 2040. But like we know, tomorrow's not promised to any of us. So I want to encourage you, if you're nervous about it, don't be. Just write it and do it as a love letter to give your family members peace of mind, to know that they won't have to stress or worry. You just say to the person closest to you or all your family members, just say, hey, my will is filed with my attorney. So you file it with an attorney, and it also can be found with my important papers at the house. And then make sure you let somebody know your important papers. Make sure you also let somebody know your passwords, someone that you really trust, your passwords, and you're going to give over what's called executive privileges or administration to someone that will be able to go into all your accounts and things such as that and disseminate them as you desire, and the attorney would assist with that. Now, the reason I say that is, I think, Nomsa, you mentioned that your father didn't go with the will, but you knew what he wanted. Well, my father didn't go with the will because he didn't expect that he was going to pass. And I ended up being the administrator, and it has been a heartbreaking headache for me because, like I said, I was mourning my father, who, of course, I thought would never go, and he went at a very young age. So there was a lot of pressure and stress on me, that I took on as like the only daughter. I'm his only daughter. I took it on, but I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. So prepare your will, prepare your love letter to your families, and give them some relief so that they can grieve you while knowing that they are following your final instructions.
Yeah, my father went very, very quick. It wasn't expected as well. But when he left, we didn't see a reason because my siblings were very young. Me and my older sister were just the oldest one. So, and I'm very, very close to my sister. I think we spent the whole year mourning for our dad, and we never basically ask about the material stuff. And we believed that because we are older and we are independent, we have our own families, and there was no reason for us to actually go home and ask, what did my dad leave this for? And the home that we have, as far as we know, my brother is the only brother that we have. Us, we all ladies gonna go get married. We're getting married. We're married. We live in our own home. So it's just in the family when you know what is important. Our family, we know where we stand. Us, the siblings, we know where we stand when it comes to love, because my stepmom died, so we only have each other now. So there is nothing to fight for. As far as we understand, we all have each other. The material stuff, we are in that place where material doesn't matter to us, because we know what we went through losing my dad and losing my stepmom as well, because he went very quick, and my stepmom died in 2018 as well. So I think she complained with her leg, and we kept taking her to the doctors, and they kept saying everything is okay, until the woman just went just like that. So at that moment, we knew that the most thing that was important to us is gone. And when we look at that, the house that we have to us is a memory, and it's a memory that where our parents were. Because the only person, my stepdad is gone as well, the only person that we have is my mom. So it's kind of us, it's a memory that my brother is going to have to look after, and that his own problems. We can supply, making sure that the house is being looked after, but he has to create his own family. If he wants to stay there, he can stay there. So we have our own home. That's the mindset that we have. But not every family. I come from Africa myself. I can tell you that when somebody dies, people wants to know, even the families who never know existed, they turn up. They want to know. They want money. Even if there is a will, they contest. It's a fight, constantly fight. But for me, basically, how do you actually, so you can go to the solicitors and arrange everything, but with my children, they know that if anything happens to me, they're gonna have money for them to start their own life, and the rest, it goes to charity. We've already had that agreement. They call us mean, because we want them to work hard, so they're gonna have the money to give them start to do whatever they want, and pay for whatever. If it's university, if we die they are young, yes, they will have enough money for them to look after them. But if they are older, they have to work hard like we worked very hard. So they've already know where we stand, that they're not going to just play and wait for parents' inheritance. So we've already have that agreement, and they say they don't agree with it anyway. So
is it written down?
yes.
So you have a will.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very good because most people don't. And what I was hearing from you, listening to you, is that there are a lot of people that are very similar to how you described, except for they don't have it written down. They don't have the will. You know, it's not with a solicitor, so that the moment you pass away, someone knows, you know, who your power of attorney is, who your executor is, who all of that is. There's also another, here in the US they have it, and I'm sure in other countries they have something very similar to it. And it's called a trust. And the trust is you put all your assets into a trust. And then depending on the trust that you choose, your assets will automatically go from you to whom you designate it to.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to go through court. It literally goes by written, legally, by written succession, that, you know, when you pass, your sister gets this, but you have children. So when you pass, your husband gets this and this and this and this. And it's already in place. So no, when you have a will, it goes to probate, which means it goes to the court, and then the court looks it over and says this is where stuff is supposed to go according to the person's wishes. Whereas with the trust, you know, and there's some time frame in there. Everything doesn't happen immediately. Yet with the trust, it happens just as soon as you breathe your last breath. The next person in succession becomes the heir in the trust. Okay, so if you hear people say, oh, they're a trust fund baby, meaning that there is automatic dispensation that comes out of that, you know, distribution that comes out of the trust, which is like a family trust, and it goes in order. And that person knows if dad passes away, then it's going to go to mom. When mom passes away, it's going to start going successively to however they have the succession there. And most people prefer the trust. It costs a little bit more to put together initially, but when it comes to peace of mind, yet again, because within the trust, they have everything spelled out in there. So whoever is whoever is the first person in line, you know, that is the first one to pass, it will say within it, they have you prepare your will and your instructions within it. So I have a trust. I got a trust when I was on the police department because, you know, it's a very dangerous job, and I never knew that I would be home every night at the end of shift. So I put everything in trust, right? So that way, the next person in succession gets it, and the next person after them, and the next person after them, and it never actually really goes to court because it's already been arranged through the attorney with legal realms. So depending on where you live, I would research this. I can only speak to the US, you know, and where I live in the portion of the US. I would encourage you to research it for yourself in the area that you live to try to find something similar to what the Americans call a trust.
I think in the UK we do have a trust. Having said that, when my stepdaddy died as well, he had everything prepared. So there was no contest, there was nothing, because he basically, my mom, she's there. So he just left everything to my mom, and no one can contest it. So even us kids, we didn't even ask, because we knew he was very vocal about it, that he will make sure that everything is arranged properly when he goes. So he was basically a bonkers man who makes sure everything is ready. Everything.
Right.
If he goes out to wedding, he'll prepare 2 weeks before. If he goes out
Right.
to any family event, so he was good like that. I was lucky having my two daddies that basically they knew exactly what they wanted. With my dad, there were instructions basically on his diary that this is what I want, this is what I want. So I just took his diary and fulfill his wishes and making sure that everyone has got this, everyone that, and that is this. But there are some families basically that sometimes people don't want to write a will. So thank you for that. Hopefully one day, so hopefully somebody watch the video and say, okay, I need to write a will. It's very, very important. I've seen families going through pain with without a will. Even sometimes when people have a will, sometimes somebody will feel like I need to contest it. So I think I'm gonna look into the trust. The trust, it sounds amazing. It sounds really, really good that if anything happens to me, I just leave for my children, so no one can contest for my children. Or if they are young, because when they are in their 30s or something, they can understand the value of the money. I can leave it there and say they can't touch it until they are in this age. Because I know
you can put an executor over it. So let's say you, heaven forbid that you pass before your children become 21, right?
Yeah.
So you can put an executor in charge of it. You would name whomever it is, and they would make sure not to that the children wouldn't have access to it. This is another thing that you'll hear, like somebody go, "Oh, when he becomes 21, he gets all his inheritance or whatever," right? But it's you put it in there as a stipulation that an executor will take care of the expenses of the child until they reach a certain age, kind of thing, And then you can actually still put a governor over it if you're concerned that maybe the child would spend, just like spend away the money the minute they turn 21. You could put some governors on it too, saying, they can only spend $1 million a year or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, because life is not, my daddy died, I think how old was I? I was 28. Yeah, life is not, it's a bumpy road. So in that age, I was still finding myself. When I turned to 30, that's when it actually sinked in that who is Nomsa. And at that moment, you start basically wanting to live your life and not being told by people how you live your life. So, but some people, they are lucky because like right now we are doing a Facebook Live. They can come across these videos. I wasn't on social media. Basically, somebody was not on any social media platform. I think I joined the social media 2007, 2009. I wasn't on social media, and basically I didn't. I didn't have any access with the personal development or anything until actually when my marriage when it fell apart. That's when I was like, go into psychology and go into personal development and things like that. I know there are some people who could be in the situation where I was before. And basically, I didn't know whether I need to do this, But it's fine for those who are watching, just prepare for your future. It might sound really scary, but you have to, it's got to be done, because once you leave, like myself, I don't think like my daughter's father lost his parents, and I felt that whatever he inherits from his family, I felt that I didn't have a right to it, because these are his parents that have worked very hard all their lives, and it's up to him to actually look after whatever he's looking after, not me saying I'm entitled for this. I always say to me, I'm not entitled for anything, because I know, like with my business, how much I work. And if I leave money for my daughter, I don't think a husband can come and say I'm entitled for this, unless if my daughter says, or a boyfriend, a partner, it may be a husband, yes. Yeah, husband, yes, because they are in one, they become family. Yes, they are. But a boyfriend or a partner, they don't have a right for it. But because we split up, so I just went, I don't think personally even though I have a child with him, I think he has a right to look after his daughter and making sure she has everything. But I don't think I have a right for somebody else's sweat to fight for it. That's my mindset, that I don't have a right to fight for anyone's money. Even if my dad would have died in the house, I don't think I have a right to fight for it, because it's his own life. Whoever wants it can get it, but I am getting in fighting to somebody else. I read the Bible, and there's also a pastor that I follow, and this pastor has helped me a lot with my mindset, that there are some things that in life that we do, but those things, because we are not aware, and those things, they hold us a captivity. So I try to stay away from all those things like that in fighting, because money is something that you can have it anytime if you want to work for it. Right. So that's my belief anyway. Anyone might believe something else. That's what I believe. Right. I don't have to fight for anything.
Well, that is why I call this a love letter. And the final instructions is a love letter. And even if you're a single person, it is very important to help your family, your loved ones, to know what to do with you if you pass away. So and that way they know that they're honoring your wishes, and you have given them the gift of not worrying about what your final wishes were.
And also, you are resting in peace as well. You don't want to on the grave and people start fighting. I don't know what happens when people die, but you want to stay there in peace. You don't want the spirit rising and saying, "Stop the fight."
It's unfortunate.
Thank you so much, Tamia. We've run out of time. Any words of encouragement you want to leave with our audience, please?
Yes. So enjoy your life, you guys. Just live your life as if today is your last day, because it may be. And if it's not, be excited tomorrow. Thank God for the new day and enjoy it. But in the meantime, relationship is more important than any material. So do life, have fun, enjoy the people you're blessed with, because you never know when it'll be the last time you're with them. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tamia. Thank you so much to our audience. So we are here Monday to Friday at Ngozi Talk Show, 1 p.m. And please leave that love letter for your loved ones. You don't want them to fight when you're gone. So if whatever the wishes that you desire in life, you just write it down and make sure that they follow the instructions as well. So it's very, very important. So thank you so much, Tamia, for today. God bless you, everyone. Live with grace.
Bye.